Hey friends, lovers of movie monsters and film aficionados alike, it's Niad here with Film Comics Explained, and as promised, in order to gear you guys up for the recent release of Godzilla King of the Monsters, today we'll be exploring the three-headed King Ghidorah featured throughout the Toho Tokusatsu line of films. I already have a playlist going over the other monsters featured in the Godzilla series, including Godzilla, the Mutos, Rodan, and Mothra, in a playlist I'll be leaving a link to below. But with all that being said, first envisioned by the visionary Tomoyuki Tanaka, who had also lent a hand in creating Godzilla, Ghidorah was based on a combination of the Yamata no Orochi, which was an epic 8-headed and 8-tailed Japanese dragon, recorded on two ancient texts that encompass Japanese mythology, and the Lenaean Hydra in Greek mythology that was killed by Heracles as part of the second of his 12 labors. With 15 monster films under their belt between the years 1954 and 63, and a whole heap of monsters that they'd created within that time, including Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, Varan, and Manda, the creative team in charge of Toho were interested in having Godzilla fighting a new monster. Now, they'd initially considered having him go against a multi-headed serpent, but thought that the 8 heads of the Yamata no Orochi was excessive, leading to them only using 3 for the creation of Ghidorah. Having said that, I'd stumbled upon a Soviet fantasy film called Ilya Muromets, also known as The Sword and the Dragon, that was released in 1956, which featured the 3-headed dragon called Zmei Gorinyich. Considering a Japanese version of the film had been distributed theatrically throughout Japan in 1959, 5 years before the release of Ghidorah, the 3-headed monster, I don't think that it's that much of a stretch to give credence to the idea that this dragon influenced the final design of Ghidorah. Making his first appearance in the 1964 film Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, the King of Terror has gone on to become Godzilla's archenemy and his antithesis, either playing the villain to Godzilla's heroic efforts, or the hero to Godzilla's villainous tirades. In his debut, Ghidorah was featured as an extraterrestrial creature believed to have been responsible for the destruction of Venus and the civilization that once thrived there, over 5,000 years before the events of the film. Though he attempted to repeat his rampage on Earth, the monster was successfully defeated by the combined efforts of Rodan, Godzilla, and Mothra. In this film and the subsequent sequels in the series, King Ghidorah is depicted as a large 3-headed golden wyvern-like kaiju with 2 large wings and 2 tails. Standing at a height of between 100 to 150 meters, depending on the era of films in question, with a wingspan of 150 to 175 meters, and weighing between 30,000 to 70,000 metric tons, King Ghidorah is by far Godzilla's largest foe. The one featured in Godzilla King of the Monsters is also taller, wider, and much heavier than any previous incarnation, making him the largest kaiju not only in the Monsterverse, but also in the Toho line of films. Though his origins would tend to vary from film to film, he was often depicted as being an otherworldly creature of malicious intent. In the Showa era of films, Ghidorah is essentially an evil space monster responsible for wiping out all life on many planets across the universe. However, when it came to the 1991 film Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, it's explained that he was the result of 3 genetically engineered creatures from the future called Dorats that had been fused together in a nuclear explosion. His backstory was once again changed for the 1998 rebirth of Mothra 3, where Ghidorah was explained as being the extinction level event that wiped out the dinosaurs. And when it came to the film Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, his role as a villain was changed to that of a protective guardian alongside Mothra, though Godzilla still remained as his archenemy. As far as I know, this is the first and last time that Ghidorah has been portrayed as a hero. I should also mention that there are a handful of films like Invasion of Astro Monster, Zone Fighter, Destroy All Monsters, and a few others that have Ghidorah falling under the control of alien races that sought the destruction of Earth's mightiest heroes, with the hope of taking the planet as their own. Though his powers and abilities vary depending on the era of films and the creative intent of the filmmakers, one of his defining features and signature attacks is of course his gravity beams, which he would spit out of his 3 heads. These powerful waves of electrical energy could level entire city blocks and were able to singe the nigh impenetrable skin of Godzilla. The monster also had impeccable defenses, with a unique energy shield that he could summon around himself to absorb projectile attacks and fire them back at their source with increased force. This of course was in addition to his ridiculous durability, with his body being covered in scales that were incredibly thick and damage resistant. Even Godzilla's powerful atomic breath was unable to pierce his scales, though they could burn them. It should also be noted that on top of all of that, these scales could manipulate light from energy-based attacks and help him form another protective barrier. Much like Rodan and Mothra, King Ghidorah has the power of supersonic flight, with wings that could produce powerful hurricane-like winds that could topple buildings and even knock the mighty Godzilla off of his feet. As if that wasn't impressive enough, these same wings could also fire multiple bolts of lightning. To make matters even worse for his foes, King Ghidorah was able to create a gigantic dome which could pull life forms inside, after which said dome would begin draining the victim's life force, transferring it over to Ghidorah to make him stronger. The dome is also near impenetrable and has a corrosive effect on anything that tries to escape it. All of these abilities stand to make King Ghidorah one of the most powerful kaiju ever created, but no beast is without a weakness, and the king has a handful depending on the films in question. For starters, the front of his necks are not covered in scales, and this has been exploited as a weak point by Godzilla and his allies. In fact, Godzilla's atomic breath was able to sever Ghidorah's middle head, leading to the eventual creation of Mecha King Ghidorah. If the king is pinned down on his back and surrounded, he's pretty much defenseless, and provided he isn't given a chance to get back up, his enemies can use this to their advantage to hit him with a barrage of attacks. And finally, as I'd mentioned earlier, there are storylines where he's possessed by other alien races that command him to execute their nefarious plans. And because in these examples, Ghidorah is in essence relying on orders being relayed to him by his masters, when this communication is severed, he's often left confused, giving his foes ample opportunity to take advantage of his disorientated state. As I'd mentioned before, the most recent incarnation of King Ghidorah featured in the new Godzilla movie is much larger than other iterations, but it still maintains the traditional core design of the creature, with a few minor alterations, like him now having a thinner but more muscular frame, more defined arms that extended into his wings, and retractable spikes on the ends of his tails. Each of his heads are also said to be capable of independent thoughts and distinct personalities, with the middle head being described as the smartest. Well, that's all for today, folks. A big thanks to all of you guys who requested we explore the mighty, three-headed King Ghidorah, and cheers for your patience with this video. Don't forget to hit subscribe and click the notification icon to stay up to date on all my content, and if there's anything else you'd like to request, please don't hesitate to ask. As always, it's been a pleasure. Nihat here with Film Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.